What would you do if your entire world changed? If all of a sudden there was a war in your city? If there were military or soldiers invading your neighbors' homes in the middle of the night, burning homes and killing people who live there? Your life changes entirely. You run away from your home trying to stay alive, often with very little, and many refugees flee to a refugee camp. In 7th grade, there was a lot of focus on other countries in my humanities class. We learned about the Lost Boys of Sudan and the political unrest that led to the boys escaping their violence and their journey for survival.
But when the war came to Sudan, we lost all those things. So then we ran away.
The Kakuma refugee camp became home to thousands of orphaned young men known as the Lost Boys of Sudan. They arrived here after walking 1,000 miles through the wilderness of Africa to escape their country's bloody civil war.
Also in 7th grade, we learned about Pakistan and the story of Malala. Through this, I learned about the Taliban, Muslim religion, and ways in which we can communicate dissent. Over the summer, I read a book called Outcasts United. Outcasts United is a book that takes place in Clarkston, Georgia. It's a story about refugee kids around my age that wanted to play soccer but were too poor. At the same time, the United States elected a new president. In the news, there was a lot of attention on the refugee crisis, especially in Syria, and Donald Trump's new travel bans.
Chaos, confusion, and anger growing in the wake of President Trump's immigration ban.
It does ban Syrian refugees from entering the U.S. indefinitely. It puts a 120-day stop on all other refugees, and it also issues a 90-day ban on nearly all travelers from 7 predominantly Muslim countries.
This made me think about the topic for my community project. I wanted to learn more about refugees. Some questions I asked were, what is the process for refugees to get into the United States? And what does it take to resettle into Georgia? Through this research, I wanted to help out the local refugee families. This is the process refugees have to go through to resettle into the United States. It is a very long process with multiple steps and can take years to complete. I am not sure how Trump's banning of refugees will reduce the terrorism in the United States. President Obama set the ceiling for refugees coming to the United States to 110,000 per year. However, after Trump was elected in 2017, he dropped the ceiling to 45,000, the lowest it has ever been. In learning more about refugees that come to Georgia, I reach out to 3 contacts: Ted Terry, the mayor of Clarkston, Sarah Owings, an immigration lawyer here in Atlanta, and also the director of the Board of Governors of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA, and Dr. Kristen Moody, an education advisor and director of Education Excellence Support. I reached out through email to Ted Terry, but he never responded. Sarah Owings helped me understand more about how immigration lawyers work with refugees and AILA's role when it comes to refugees. Dr. Moody provided me with information about refugees who come to Atlanta and connected me with New American Pathways. After finding about all the refugees that come to Atlanta, there were a real need to help out with the resettlement process in terms of basic living needs. So I decided to do a donation drive for New American Pathways. This required me to manage my time and plan how I'm going to execute my donation drive. This is the flyer that I created, printed them, and put them on Whole Foods bags and handed out to my neighbors and friends. I put a bag on every porch of every house on my street. I gave bags to friends of my parents as well as my friends' families. I also asked my soccer team to donate. In doing this project, I had to talk to all the people that I want to get donations from. This is a weakness that I worked on during the project, and it improved. In the beginning of my donation drive, it was a little rough explaining my project and asking for donations, but over time it got way better. This is an example of how I did not do well asking for donations. Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
What's going on?
I'm doing a project.
Okay.
Yeah, and I need donations for refugees.
Oh, what kind of donations?
There's directions on paper.
Can I see it? Thank
Yeah.
you.
After explaining my project a little bit better, many people thought my project was cool and they wanted to help. I collected over 40 bags stuffed with donations that will help the refugees. In the bags, there were shoes of all sizes, school supplies like books and binders, toiletries like deodorant, soap, and shampoo. When I gave the donations to New American Pathways, they were so excited. They wanted me to come back and meet the refugee family that will be receiving my donations. After Thanksgiving, I coordinated a time with Miss Sophia Jama, a caseworker at New American Pathways, to have a tour, learning more about what they do, and to meet the family that was receiving many of my donations. This was not an anticipated part of my proposal, or learning about the resettlement of refugees, but it was extremely helpful because I got to learn firsthand how this works from someone who helps refugees on a daily basis. Through Ms. Sophia, she coordinated core services to newly arriving refugees. Resettlement agencies provide orientations on what life is like in the United States. Some refugees see how foreign some of the things we take for granted are. This clip from a documentary shows some examples of how this has happened.
It's something called apartment. I've never met, and I've never seen it.
Shower. How does it look like? Shower.
I've never used electricity, so I imagine it is really very hard for me to do that.
And in the United States, we had his only one wife. These things are going to affect us.
Upon arrival, the U.S. government gives $925 per person as welcome money, but as you can see, they have a lot of expenses. In 3 months of being in the United States, each refugee is expected to pay for their plane ticket and to have a job. At the end of my tour, I was able to meet this Rohingya family. They were originally from Burma and fled to Malaysia because of religious persecution. I met them only 1 week after they arrived to the United States. The donations I collected made a huge impact on their lives as they arrived with very little. They received toiletries like soap, shampoo, toothpaste, as well as underwear, socks, and shoes. The girl on the right is 16 and spoke English. She said the family was very grateful for these items. After doing this project, especially after going on the tour of New American Pathways and meeting a real refugee family, I think about how strong and courageous they are. They have endured a lot. I think about my own life and how easy it is. I think that coming to the United States with very little and starting would be very difficult. I found this project to be very rewarding. Reflecting on my approaches and learning, I worked hard in accessing information to be informed, collect and verify data, utilize different media to obtain perspective, keep a self-made project's deadlines, consider the implications of the issue. To all the people I asked to donate to my drive, I sent them thank you notes for even donating or considering to donate. I told them about the Rohingya family and asked them to consider about New American Pathways and refugees the next time they are getting rid of things in their house like shoes, furniture, and cell phones.